There's a moment that happens to a lot of people in their 20s. It's subtle. It doesn't come with fireworks. There's no celebration post, no milestone badge. You just wake up one day and realize, I'm not stressed about money anymore. Not rich, not wealthy, just comfortable. You can pay your bills without checking the balance first. You order what you want at restaurants. You don't really think about subscriptions anymore. And for a while, it feels like you've made it, like you crossed some invisible line from figuring life out to doing okay. But here's the part nobody warns you about. That exact feeling, the feeling of being rich, often shows up right before people get stuck financially for the next 10 years. Not broke, not struggling, not failing, just permanently comfortable. And the reason is simple but uncomfortable. Feeling rich and being rich are two completely different psychological states, and most people accidentally optimize for the wrong one. Not because they're dumb, not because they're reckless, but because one of them feels like success, and the other one doesn't feel like anything at all. That's the trap. And once you fall into it, there's no alarm system, no red flags, no warning signs, just a quiet sense of I'm doing fine, while your future options slowly shrink in the background. Idea 1. Feeling rich is a sensation. Being rich is a system. Most people think they want wealth, but what they actually want is the sensation of wealth. The feeling of not worrying, not checking, not hesitating, not saying no. They want ease. So naturally, they spend money on things that remove friction. Better phone, better apartment, better food, better clothes, better experiences. And none of this is wrong. This is what money is supposed to do, improve your life. The problem starts when you confuse comfort with progress. Feeling rich is emotional. Being rich is structural. Feeling rich comes from spending, consuming, upgrading, eliminating discomfort. Being rich comes from systems, assets, leverage, time, ownership. One is a mood, the other is a machine. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can feel rich while becoming poorer in long-term opportunity. That's lifestyle inflation, not the dramatic kind, not luxury cars and private jets, the quiet kind, the kind that looks like moving into a slightly nicer place, ordering food instead of cooking, upgrading flights, saying it's not that expensive a few times a week. Each decision feels harmless. Each upgrade feels earned. But cumulatively, they do something very specific. They raise your baseline. And once your baseline goes up, your future becomes more expensive. Not in money. In flexibility. You now need a certain income to maintain your identity, a certain lifestyle to feel normal, a certain standard to feel okay. You're not chasing wealth anymore. You're chasing stability. And stability feels incredible until you realize it caps your upside. Because when your life becomes expensive, risk becomes dangerous. You can't experiment. You can't step back. You can't slow down. You can't pivot. Not because you're weak, because you built a life that requires constant income. And the scariest part? It doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like adulthood. Open loop. What if the version of you that feels the richest is actually the version with the least future freedom? Idea 2. The richest feeling is control, not luxury. Let's pause. When you imagine being rich, what do you actually picture? Not in theory. In reality. Be honest. Is it a specific car? A type of apartment? A lifestyle you've seen online? A version of yourself that looks impressive? Now here's a better question. When do you feel the most calm about money? Not excited, not hyped, not flexing. Calm. It's usually moments like knowing you could quit your job and survive, saying no to something without stress, taking time off without checking your bank app, not feeling pressure to explain your spending to yourself. That's not luxury. That's control. Psychological wealth is mostly about optionality, not how much you earn, but how many choices you can make without fear. Two people can make the same income. One feels rich, the other feels trapped. The difference is not money, it's runway. How long could you live if everything stopped tomorrow? Most people never calculate that, because deep down they don't want the answer. Here's a quiet discomfort moment. If your income disappeared for 6 months, would your lifestyle actually stay the same? Not emotionally, actually. Same apartment, same food, same subscriptions, same social life? If the answer is no, you don't feel rich. You feel expensive, and expensive is fragile. Because expensive means you need things to keep going. You need income to maintain identity. You need performance to sustain comfort. That's not wealth. That's dependency. Real wealth is boring. It's cash buffers. It's low burn rate. It's not needing urgency. It's not panicking when something breaks. It's waking up and knowing I don't have to optimize today. And most people never experience that. Not because they can't, but because they built a life that requires speed. Open loop. Why do so many high earners still feel anxious about money? Idea 3. Feeling rich is loud. Being rich is quiet. This one is subtle. Feeling rich wants to be seen. Being rich doesn't care. Feeling rich signals success. Posts the lifestyle, upgrades visibly, needs external validation. Being rich builds quietly, avoids attention, optimizes for independence, doesn't explain itself. And here's the psychological twist. The louder your life looks, the more likely it's funded by future obligations. Debt, high fixed costs, commitments that require constant income. You're not wealthy. You're leased. Leased to your job, leased to your lifestyle, leased to your own expectations. And again, this doesn't feel bad. It feels impressive. People compliment you. Your life looks good. You feel like you're doing something right. But under the surface, your financial structure looks like this. High income, high spending, low margin for error. Which means one thing. You can't slow down. You can't fail. You can't rest. You can't disappear. You can't rethink your direction. Because your life is running on a treadmill. And the treadmill feels fine until you try to step off. Being rich is the opposite energy. It's low noise, low burn rate, high optionality. It's not exciting. It's not aesthetic. It doesn't perform well on social media. It's boring, and that's exactly why most people never get there. Because boring doesn't feel like winning. But boring is where compounding lives. Boring is where leverage grows. Boring is where you slowly wake up one day and realize, I don't need to impress anyone anymore. That moment is worth more than any car. Open loop. Why does society reward the appearance of wealth more than the reality of it? Idea 4. The real gap is time, not money. Here's the shift most people never make. The difference between feeling rich and being rich is not income. It's time ownership. Feeling rich spends time to feel good now. Being rich buys time for later. Feeling rich says, I deserve this. Being rich asks, what does this cost me in 5 years? Opportunity cost is invisible. That's why almost no one respects it. Every dollar you spend is not just gone. It's also gone from every future version of you. Not metaphorically, literally. That money could have reduced your dependency, increased your runway, bought you optionality, lowered your future stress. But the brain doesn't feel that. Because the brain discounts the future. Heavily, your 35-year-old self feels imaginary. Your current self feels real. So you optimize for current comfort and trade future freedom without noticing. This is why most people don't feel poor. They feel temporarily rich forever, until suddenly they're 35, then 40, then 50, and the lifestyle stayed. But the optionality never arrived. Not because they failed, but because they optimized for the wrong reward system. They chased the feeling of wealth instead of the structure of it. And the structure is the only thing that compounds. Let's make this personal for a second. If someone looked at your life from the outside, your income, your spending, your habits, would they say, this person is building freedom? Or, this person is maintaining a lifestyle? There's nothing wrong with either, but only one of them scales into actual wealth. Most people are not financially stuck because they don't earn enough. They're stuck because their life expanded faster than their freedom. They upgraded the surface before building the foundation. And now they're living inside something that looks successful, but feels heavy. That's the quiet cost of feeling rich too early. So let's reframe this cleanly. Being rich is not about how impressive your life looks, how much you spend, how fast you upgrade. It's about how many decisions you can make without stress, how long you can survive without income, how little your lifestyle depends on constant performance. Psychological wealth is when money stops being emotional and starts being strategic, not exciting, not scary, just calm. You don't feel rich. You feel unbothered. You stop thinking about money every day. You stop proving things. You stop upgrading for validation. You stop racing imaginary competitors. And something strange happens. Your life gets quieter, slower, less reactive, but your future gets bigger. More options, more leverage, more control, because the ultimate form of wealth is not consumption. It's non-dependence, not needing approval, not needing urgency, not needing to escape your own life, just quietly knowing, I built something that gives me time back. That's the difference. Feeling rich is a mood. Being rich is a position. One fades, the other compounds, and most people spend their entire financial lives chasing the mood, instead of building the position. If this made you slightly uncomfortable, that's actually a good sign. It means you're starting to see the invisible layer of money. The part that isn't about income, but about identity, time, and control. The next logical piece of this is something almost nobody notices until it's too late. It's called the comfort trap nobody warns you about. Not the obvious mistakes, the quiet ones that feel harmless and keep people average for decades. That's where this conversation actually gets real.